I am so excited, everyone, to be talking again to my very good friend Kelly Kolodney. Wonderful, loving, pure soul. Love her to bits, and she channels Archangel Raphael, has done since I think 1989. Kelly, and just does it with such authenticity, integrity, and pure love. Love her channeling. So we're going to be diving deep into this today, and you've also downloaded 55 light codes, which again you're teaching us with great detail. And these really feel like evolutionary ingredients for our soul, for our ascension. And one of my favorites recently was the Galactic White Horse. And I think coming up very soon we have the Violet Flame that you're going to be teaching us. So just beautiful work. So I will put Kelly's website link below. And earlier today, I was revisiting the last conversation Kelly and I had about 3 months ago. And it was pure gold, actually. So I really recommend you go back and listen to that one, because this conversation today is going to be building on that. So Kelly, welcome.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you so much. I am so grateful to be here, and I can't tell you how much I adore you. So this is so nice. Thanks.
It's gonna be wonderful. And just for those who haven't heard Kelly, Kelly gets into her channeling by toning and then brings in the Angel Raphael. And I'm going to be asking the Angel Raphael some questions. And I think this is going to be exciting for all of us, including me. So anything else you'd like to share, Kelly, before we get going?
No, I don't think so. So yeah, I'm gonna make some toning sounds. I primarily channel the Angel Raphael, but sometimes beings or goddesses or star beings come, and so we'll just see who shows up. But I would assume it'll be Archangel Raphael. And for those listening, you may feel resonance or something happening in your heart as your heart comes into coherence. You may feel a tingling. You might fall asleep, and Raphael sometimes speaks quickly, but you're receiving the transmission from these higher vibrations. And so, just by being in the presence of that frequency is an upgrade to your whole system. So, I just want you to know that if you fall asleep or you don't get it all, it's okay. You're getting it on whatever level you need to receive it. So,
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, anytime you're ready, Kelly, uh,
okay.
bring in the Angel Raphael, and then off we go.
Okay. So just want to create quickly a sacred space, asking everyone to drop into the presence of the here and now, opening your heart that I may be a divine vessel of purity and unconditional love and of service, and that these messages may bring unity and peace to all listening. Ow, 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 hello.
Hello.
Hello, hello, hello. Ow, ow. We are very delighted, as always, to be here and to attune to you and all of those that are here listening to this moment as we bring the heart into coherence and bring a light to all of you in the remembering of who it is that you are. It is our understanding that there is something in which you're wanting to talk to us about in the angelic realm, as a collective attuned to the Archangel Raphael's frequency of healing, are here to support you in whatever way you're wanting. And so, hello.
Hello, Angel Raphael. I'm just beyond thrilled to be in conversation with you again. And where I'd like to go with the first question really is to quote you from other interviews where you've said recently that we, meaning humanity, are evolving at an accelerated pace and doing very, very well, and that we've ended the cycle of separation, and that we're all acorns and conditions are now, quote, divinely perfect for our metamorphosis. And that's a word I've used a lot recently with the astrology. So I'd really like to dig into a concept which I believe is unique to you because I haven't heard anyone else talk about it. That the birth of the new human in a biological sense actually began at the Aries equinox, and that we're going through a series of trimesters leading to the completion at the Capricorn solstice. And I wonder if you could share more with us about that, enlarge on that concept, because that's very exciting.
How, how. Well, we are delighted to attune to all of this and these questions in which you are asking as a large completion around this time of the equinox had occurred when some of you perhaps think of it as the ending of a cycle or the ending of the Kali Yuga, in which you are opening up spaciousness to evolve at a quickened pace. And many of you across the planet are moving at a rapid speed and are coming fully into integration into who it is that you are, in which you shall be seeding the planet with new energies that are holding codes of information that allow you to be in a fully awakened state while still maintaining human form. And it is that a portion of you, and eventually all of you as a collective, as a human race, will shift. And this shift is occurring now. And those who are at the forefront of this process, meaning that they have chosen to be here at this time with the understanding and conscious awareness that they are piercing the veil and the opening to this new seeding, are literally having a very direct and immediate change on a biological level. And although everyone eventually on your planet will align with this new upgrade, and what you often speak of as a new human will be born, is very true and absolutely accurate. However, it is that a portion of you have chosen at this time, at the beginning of the equinox, to go through a process of metamorphosis, a developmental shift in your own biology as you are attuning to higher beings that are coming and connecting with you from both the terrestrial and galactic realms and the realms that live deep within the core of the inner earth. You being the central flame of a triple flamed vibrations of energies that are merging together to go what through you are speaking of as three trimesters. And so in this process, it is that you are now in the completion of this, meaning that the upgrade within the biology for this portion of those who have chosen this at this time will come into completion or into the birthing process around what is perceived in your perspective within linear time as the winter solstice, toward the completion of the end of 2025. And this will be a container of energy that then will begin to proliferate around the planet as these seeds will continue to exponentially grow. And what we speak of on many regards as the galactic baby, which is a unified field of a collaborative, collective frequency of beings who are choosing, in some conscious and unconscious of this process, are experiencing a metamorphosis, an awakening, a quickening, a changing within their own biology. And they are receiving this by coming into communion with those beings who perhaps are not in density, in form at this time on your planet in the way in which you are, who are assisting in this process. And much of this work occurs and takes place during dream time and sleep time, and during connection with other beings who are operating in certain frequencies and transmissions such as this self. And as this occurs and these activations are received, there is literally a change on a biological level. And so instead of looking outside of yourself as you are tuning to these other vibrations, or something outside that is coming to make a change. The change is occurring inside your own biology. You are literally giving birth to what we call the galactic baby.
Wow. And can you say a little more, Raphael, Angel Raphael, about that specific change in biology? Are we becoming more crystalline? What are the details of that change in biology for us?
Oh, well, there is a change in your telomeres, in your coding, meaning that there is many energies that are held on a deep cellular level in which have been closed, and we do not usually like to use this word, but even tampered with, even though there was a collective agreement to that. And that has been shifted, meaning that it has been released, it has been unsealed. And in the unsealing, it is sometimes like opening a door to one who might perhaps be in a locked room or in a prison. And even though the door is open, they do not know that they can step out, that there is something beyond where it is that they are, because they are so accustomed to being held in a specific framework or way of being, and they are comfortable. And it is so familiar that even if the door is opened, the consciousness cannot allow them to pass through that gateway. And so what's happened is through so much work on a collective level and assistance that has come from many other dimensions and parallel realities and realms, the collective human consciousness has made an enormous quantum leap. And although that is not always seen or perceived in certain areas, because many of you choose at times to focus on where things are not working, the general compassion and love quotation, in a sense, and understanding and attunement to unity has risen exponentially. And from that process, this seal has been broken and burst open, like the door has opened. But because you are so familiar with the constructs of your human experience to date, many of you remain in what feels comfortable, and sometimes often even get distracted because there's distractions that are purposely put in somewhat in place in order to keep you from recognizing that the door is open. But for others, you are starting to glimpse into that opening. And what that means is you are opening that, you are awakening and coming into coherence and into relationship with parts of your human self on a deep cellular level within your own DNA that contain energy, information, perception, ways of being, attuning, and creating that you have not had access to before. Many people speak of this or talk to you about it as gifts, in a sense, coming online. But these aren't really gifts as much as they are your inherent true nature, in which you are starting to come into relationship again with, to honor and to believe is true. It is very much a shift in vision, perception, and belief in relationship to the vastness, the extraordinariness, the expansiveness of how amazing you are on such a deep and profound level, and a willingness to come into relationship with that, in which the programming that to date has operated, in which the structures in which you have moved from become dismantled. And as they are dismantled and you become in more relationship to your own internal biology and the perception and the remembering of the vastness and the co-creation of who it is that you are and the master that you are, those structures, as you are witnessing at this time, are no longer needed in order for you to operate in, and they become dismantled, which appears outside of yourself to be chaotic, but it is really something magnificent, because in the decay of that, a great awakening and birthing to the vastness of self, the purity of self, the energy of who it is that you are as the master creator of all that is and ever has and ever shall be, comes back online. And then you are operating from a whole new way of being in the fullest potential of an awakened biology, then which is singing with light. And so you speak of it as moving perhaps from carbon to crystalline, and it is all of the elemental aspects and all of the chemistry and all of the structure and all of the biology within you becomes in resonance with higher consciousness, meaning that in which has been encoded inside of you that you have not had access to date because it was not available to you due to the constructs of the mind that has kept it hidden, becomes revealed. And as it becomes revealed, you step into the shoes of a being that is radiating with more light, more potentiality, more understanding, and a resonance with all living things. And in that process, you will begin to notice a perception and a change in who you are, how you interact with others, your behavior, your capacity for healing, for creation, for manifestation, for teleportation, for telepathic communication, etc. Because this is not something that is necessarily extraordinary. It has always been your birthright, but you have been distracted from it.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Angel Raphael. And will we start to notice a difference, therefore, from the end of the year, the Capricorn solstice going into 2026? Will we start to feel different as we move forward?
Yes, it is that you will, especially those who make a conscious decision to connect with the organic energies, with nature, with the elements, with the biological aspect of yourself and what it is that you are made up of in its connection and relationship to nature itself, will start to feel a tremendous change, meaning that when you are walking through the woods, or you are by the ocean, or you are looking at a tree, you will see the radiant light coming off of it. You will hear the songs of the water as it will sing and it will communicate to you. You will feel the presence and the beauty and the soul of the rocks and the stones. You will begin to attune to the soil and feel its presence and its capacity for life force energy. And the biology that you have all collectively, deeply, many of you, separated from through distraction and change, in which you have isolated yourself from recognizing that you are the environment, interwoven and a part of it. As you reattune to it and communicate with it, it's an ascension process that is taking place within it, as it is coming also back into fullness and online, will be woven and interacted within you, and you will start to feel, sense, and experience many changes. Now, those changes may feel like something that is magical or special temporarily, and you will be overwhelmed with joy and a feeling and a connection to it. But as you attune to these energies and it begins to stir inside of you and starts to awaken parts within you, you will recognize also that the way that you go about things when you have a disease or you have a difficult relationship or you're struggling with something will be very different. And your ability and capacity to quickly shift, to change, to grow, to learn from whatever is arising in a much more coherent and pleasant way will start to become more commonplace, in which you will look and feel differently in your human body, radiating more light, feeling stronger, having the capacity to resolve personal, emotional issues at a faster rate, connecting with nature and food, recognizing that your intent and ability to manifest or to bring something into reality is quickening at an exponential rate, etc. And so there will be a very noticeable difference in your personal third dimensional reality, in which you will have recognized that you have truly taken a leap in consciousness, in perception, in abilities, and that then you are seeding and opening spaciousness and radiating energy and light around the planet that facilitates layers and layers that will occur for the collective to come into the same resonance until the entire collective human body, which is one human body, starts to beat in resonance with one another and creates a harmonization that then begins to attune with Mother Gaia. And then you are collectively in a unified field while simultaneously maintaining a sense of individuality with the capacity to enjoy the pleasures of the human experience. And so this is what is taking place and where you are moving toward at a rapid pace.
Beautiful. And you mentioned, Angel Raphael, a change in the telomeres. So does that mean that we are likely to live longer and in better health too?
Yes, so it is that we know that this statement may seem outlandish, but you were never necessarily intended to die in the cycles in which you have been dying in. And it is that the repeat cycle of reincarnation and rebirth regularly sometimes stunts the potentiality for extended, expansive growth on a deep spiritual level. And so, as you are expanding and your consciousness is coming into new octaves, you will notice that you will be living much longer with the capacity to take this deep wisdom and energy that has been gained through the process of linear time in which you're still operating in and extend it out further. And there will be a time eventually in which, like many beings of light, are perhaps reported as, let's say, ascended masters, are operating from a place of immortality, not in the way perhaps that you are perceiving it to be, but the because you often will want to transfer somewhere else on an energetic level for other experiences and disconnect from the physical form of the body. But if you are choosing to remain in the biological physical form that is your vessel for longer periods of time, for your own interaction and evolution, that will be more of an option for many of you as time unfolds.
Beautiful, beautiful. And Angel Raphael, from an astrological point of view, there's a particularly unique configuration which is very strong for the next 3 years, 25, 26, 27. And although obviously our evolution will continue ad infinitum, do you also see from your angelic perspective that these 3 years are a particularly concentrated, accelerated period of evolution for humanity?
Ah, this is the greatest acceleration that within your written history that you have ever seen in what you call in this time frame of the next 3 years. There will be enormous change, and there will be many pathways that will simultaneously come in as options or doorways or gateways or choices to make that will have a variety of different ways of being that will place one on a specific trajectory toward a part of their evolution evolution. And there will be choices along this process to make because many will come into a deep state of compassion, unity consciousness, connection, attunement to nature, the recognition of their true divinity, a full awakening within their biology, and stepping into their light body, into a crystalline state. And others will choose to connect to more of a non-organic way of being, an artificial timeline in which they will become more mechanical, more technological, and in many regards may cycle themselves in a different frequency that is repetitive, perhaps, of ways of cycling that has occurred before. And we recognize that in speaking of this in this way, we're speaking all much of of something that feels like a polarity or a separation, or that one is better or that one is not as good. But they will each have their own development on a soul level. However, it is our hope from a larger perspective for the collective of all parallel realities and all beings, including those in what is perceived from your perception in the galactic realms, that many of you will choose more of this attunement to the natural source and the unfoldment of your true own biological evolution, because ultimately that will lead you into a great place of freedom, where the other avenue will be a longer road to eventually freedom as well, but through trials and difficulties that perhaps could or are not necessary if one could release the patterns or belief systems that are deeply embedded within the ego mind, or the sense of separation frequency, or the sense of fear vibration.
Yeah, yes, that's extraordinary and extremely helpful, Angel Raphael. And I've heard you speak about this bifurcation, or indeed many potential timelines going forwards. And I've understood that simply as being in a different reality dimensionally. But are you suggesting that it's a different Earth, it's a different planet in some way that we'll be residing on, depending on those choices?
Yes, for it is that they are flooding in very rapidly now. And so this is a critical moment to take inventory, to attune to the essence of one's being, at the deepest soul level of what resonates with truth, what is of true importance, and coming into a coherent state, alchemizing all discordant energies and coming into union with self, so that one can align with these magnificently beautiful energies of light that are bombarding your planet, and plasmic frequencies and attunement to these crystalline beings that are coming from deep within the earth, that are descending from the core, that are hitting you from this great central sun and beyond, of droplets of love, because this is an extraordinary opportunity. And it is that one, if they can attune and evolve and align with that, it is something so magnificent. Now, is there another Earth? Yes, in a sense, there is a cycle that will spin off into its own orbit, its own way of being, in which could be perceived, yes, in a sense, as another Earth. It is a collective body of an energetic form that is going to go through cycles in which it has already done, because it was unable to break free from this need for grip, control, hierarchy, separation, etc., and fear. Unable to really drop in and surrender into the willingness and the trusting of the larger aspect of self and the universe or God frequency, but a need to maintain a grip on how it should be, will create discordant vibrations that will align with a technological world that will eventually make it difficult for the biology to evolve in this way for a period of time. Eventually, of course, it will have to, because it's its natural state to evolve, and it will learn and grow through those processes and break through them, and eventually reach the place in which many of you will be reaching, just at a more quickened state. And so ultimately, it is all moving forward in that direction, but the pathways to get there may be different depending upon where one is in its state of consciousness.
Right. Yeah, really clear. So obviously this period in history has been signaled by some very distinct cosmology, by ancient indigenous prophecies, by the very unique astrological configurations we've got right now. But how much of this accelerated evolution that we're going through is down to humanity's own efforts, with their own meditations, their own efforts at heart coherence, etc.? How much of we done it ourselves to accelerate that pace of this period of evolution?
Ah, you have done much of it. It isn't that something outside of self shall come down from the heavens and save, or that a galactic ship will come and change all of the frequencies. It is an internal process within the own biology, within the own heart coherence, and with the own dedication of practices that you are speaking of, such as meditation, presence, and attunement, that allows the acceleration and the awakening process within one's being to move in an evolutionary leap. Now, it is, however, that many that have come in, souls that have arrived in the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, or not arrived, who were perhaps adults at that time, who are on the edge of opening up to these new ideas, where the forerunners that pierced the veil and opened a space and did a lot of the heavy lifting for more of the collective to be able to pass through that aperture, to pass through that space, to cross that bridge into higher frequencies with perhaps not as much intensity in the work effort, because the vibration had already hit a certain threshold, allowing them to attune to that threshold if there was an opening within their consciousness. Now, the children that are arriving now in droves are carrying a very, very expansive, powerful, awakened vibration where their biology is already online. And because you are interfacing with them and their hearts are so open, the interaction of that also is like a bookend to these other, perhaps elder energies, that is holding a sphere of energy like a ring around the collective that is pulsating and sending waves of light that are moving through and weaving into the collective, into pockets of places and hearts of others, to open up them to the potentiality of the awakening to their own divinity. However, some are in such a deep, deep slumber and forgetting, encoded in the mind and in the linear of structure or patterns to a degree that perhaps they are not able to receive those messages. And so it is, yes, important that you do the work that of breathing and being in nature and attuning to the elements and communicating with the water and communicating with your food and opening your heart and looking into the eyes of everyone and seeing and remembering that they are a mirrored reflection of you, that they are you, and having compassion and letting go of right and wrong and black and white, and finding the expansive area in the center of the potentiality that you can see something from the depth of its origin rather than placing an idea of what it should be in your mind. All of those things are essential in the evolution of your growth. But know that as you are making that leap, and your neighbor is, and another is, you are helping one another, lifting one another. You're not just doing it for you, but for the collective. And for those perhaps who are not focused on the spiritual, not focused on personal growth, but maybe they are contributing in another way, but their heart is open and they're blinded to this awakening process. But all of the others that are diligently meditating and etc., they are sending waves of energy that are hitting the biology of another who is contributing in a different way, who because of that recognize that their sister or brother is a counteraction to the work that they are doing, and that they will instantaneously feel that change and their biology will lift. So it is the intent to be on what was perceived perhaps as the ascension timeline, etc., an attunement to unity, consciousness, and love, without necessarily having to know the jargon or doing the awakening process or moving into 5D that some understand and some don't. It means that they will on their own, because they will enter that soup of consciousness from the work of others. And so for those who are conscious and aware at this time of this process, we call upon all of you to take it seriously, because it is not just for you, but for the collective.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. And you've spoken, Angel Raphael, about the change in the water, and clearly the water carries the it's like condensed light carrying new light codes. But is there anything in addition to the new light codes coming in? Has the water changed in another way to help our evolution? Because we are liquid crystal at the end of the day.
Yes, the water is affecting you very much so right now. For it has made its own ascension. As when we speak about the unsealing has occurred in a sense. The water is radiated and singing to all of you if you will attune to listening to its song. And as you can come into greater relationship with it and with all of the elements, you can start to create harmonization within pockets in attunement with the elements, meaning as of now, sometimes the elements are moving rapidly, or storms are creating, or volcanic activity is taking place, which is on the rise right now, in which you are experiencing it because it is in relationship to the energy of transformation that is needed right now on a collective within the psyche of the human consciousness. But as you begin to come into relationship both with fire and with water and with the trees and etc., you start to come into union with them as you once were before, and a harmonization, in which means, yes, that nature will always have its process of transformation, but as you come into connection and harmonization with it, you will not necessarily need to experience the wrath of the destructive forces of it, but with it, go through whatever is needed while maintaining a sense of harmonization wherever it is that you are, because you will begin to commune with it. Just as you're communing now with the water and it's sending you messages and etc., the more you attune to it, the more relationship you are with it, the less need for these destructive energies that come from the elements will need to occur. They will occur in ways in which they will do what they are needing to do for Mother Gaia through the process of balance and the ecosystem without interfering with you in your state of the way in which you are operating.
Yeah, that is very good to hear. It's all about harmony and coherence and balance, isn't it? So
Yes.
and when we studied that, as I say, it was my all-time favorite, the Galactic White Horse light code. And Angel Raphael, you took us out, and you took us out way out to the galactic core, so we were way out in space. But now I understand, as we move forward with your teachings, we are going to go deep, deep, deep into the inner earth. And is that correct? And can you tell us more about that and the beings in the inner earth?
Ah, well, we had brought you along on the Pegasus and the White Horse into the galactic core to touch the essence, the emptiness, the spaces that had not been touched before on these outer rims. And the reason we are going now deep, 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 deep into the inner core, even below perhaps places that the others are familiar with within crystalline cities, within the earth, into the actual mystery spaces, the spots, the spaces of emptiness and purity that have not been touched by the human consciousness at all, where the pure, pure codes of light live and dwell. There are flames of energy that have come forth and connected to places such as Telos and other crystalline cities around the inner earth, which are on the rim with inside your planet, are now being accessible for you within the pineal gland attunement to them, just as you are having more access than ever before to the galactic beings and star beings, and others are attuning to their star families and feeling a welcoming and alignment with going home. But what is happening here is that as you are tuning to those outer rims in the galactic core, into those spaces inside everything at the core seeding point, that is where you are receiving codes that are changing your biology. Because although it is in your perception that you are going somewhere out into the distance, very far from where it is that you are, it is spiraling deep into the cell on the molecular level, and it is mirroring that inside of you. And that is where that woven energy and connection and mirror is occurring inside you. And you are awakening to the remembering of all the information coded within the stars. Now, as much as all that is known and coded within the stars that has ever been, all that same information on a different level, much more deeply attuned to the elemental frequencies and the elements themselves, is coded within the crystal core, deep within the earth itself, where from your perception may seem outlandish, but an entire world resides. And it is inside here that flames of light that have been carried through ancient times and civilizations, holding information and codes, are going to be gifted to you, but it is not something that you carry just from a state of mind in the intellect, but they will be inserted and received within your own biology, as well as discs of light that are received within the activations within your own biology. These are records and records and records of libraries of wisdom, teaching, remembering, knowledge, and information that then that are encoded within you. And that is the transformation within the biology. That is the awakening that takes place. That is when you begin to awaken to the remembering and the understanding that every single thing that you see and perceive is self, and you begin to attune to what you call unity consciousness, and you propel at an exponential rate into higher octaves. And so as you will be traveling and spinning down, doorways are going to open as the Elohim and the energies and the ascended masters and the goddesses will take you down all the way into this core place in which you will be receiving these flames of energy, of light that are encoded. And when they are entered, and when you allow yourself to accept them and to receive them as gifts that will come to you, which have never, these doors have never been opened before. In conscious linear thinking from your historical perspective in which written history has occurred, there is no remembering or true knowing of the receiving of gifts to this caliber that were coming both from the inner crystal core and the galactic core, that are entering into and awakening within your own biology for you to attune to a frequency of truly stepping into your mastery. And so our excitement and enthusiasm around this process is brings such joy to us because we recognize that so many of you at this time are ready for these beautiful receivings.
Wow. And is this Angel Raphael, is this connection, this involution as well as our evolution at the same time, is this in process? Are we already on track with starting to receive this information or remember this information? It isn't far out in linear time for us.
Yes, you are already, it is happening now. It is happening in this second. It is happening inside of you. And it is that opportunities will keep coming in to choose the timeline, to choose the pathway in the recognition and the memory of your mastery. So when old diseases come into your experience, or old patterns of belief systems, or energies of addiction, or energies of lack, or fear, or doing a job you don't like, or etc., start flooding your system of old paradigms, every time that happens, this is an opportunity to say, ah, I remember I can choose this higher timeline. I can choose the mastery of who it is that I am. I can attune to immortality. I can drink the elixir of life. I can remember that I am the creator of my own experience, that I can bring forth a spontaneous and instantaneous healing, that I can open up spaciousness for infinite abundance for self and others, that I can open up and attune to connection and communication with my galactic star beings and sisters, that I can do the work or the job that I love, that through your intention and attunement to these energies and frequencies that are now bombarding your planet, if you consciously make the decision to align with them, they will work with you and carry you so far. So you already have access to it. It is simply that many forget that they have access or do not know how to attune or harmonize with the interfacing of the vibration. But the vibrations of plasmic energies and lights bombarding your planet right now are enormous, and your capacity through your intent to align with them accelerates your process. So this is not something you have to wait for in the far future for something to start to change. The change is already occurring. It is already here. It is the willingness to choose to attune to it and not to drop back into old ways and paradigms of thinking and being.
Right. So this is so important that we take those opportunities. And Angel Raphael, I can't imagine how this is going to change astrology as I've worked with it. It sounds
Yeah.
like it's just going to be left way behind all of my years of study. But I've always said that in recent videos. So can you touch on that in terms of how astrology will evolve?
Yes, it will change, but the study that you have had in the understanding has been part of something magnificent, but a structure that is still tethered to a way of being. And as you all shift and evolve, doorways will open to seeing things that you were not able to perceive or see before, because you will be entering into the perception and attunement to far out galaxies, and the recognition of the unity of those energies and their relationship to how they are affecting you now. Because to date, what is occurring is that your relationship has always been to what could be perceived from where it is that you are. But as that perception opens, the floodgates of how all of that is interacting with all of you to create pathways of your experience will be more known, as if you will begin to see the mirrored reflection of the constellations laid out before you within the landscapes, the interaction between the earth and the elements and their relationship to what is occurring in the constellations and within the star systems will begin to mirror one another in a way in which you will recognize them in your everyday living experience. And so more people will have more access to how this is affecting them and how they are connected to it, because they will be coming more in attunement with a synchronistic way of living, and they will feel the sensation and the attunement to the stars in relationship to themselves, in relationship to the geography, in relationship to the elements, in relationship to one another as a collective. And it will be something that all of you will have a better understanding of, but one that not needed to be taught on an intellectual studying way that has been done to date, but more something that will be known as you will see the mirror of the stars within your own biology. Your own biology itself will become a beautiful reflection of the entire universe, and your perception of how it is all so interwoven and connected will stay alive in the forefront of your understanding rather than something that comes in just little glimpses. You will begin to embody the recognition of the stars as they are also inside of you, that everything in which you are seeking and perceiving and how it is interacting with you is, yes, mirrored in the perception of the retina, perceiving it as somewhere in the distant sky, but the mirrored reflection of the macro and the microcosm, as you will have much more conscious awareness of the stars within your own biology.
Wonderful. But we will still keep a sense of our unique essence via our birth time, our birth print, if you like, because that set off a particular pattern in the heavens that I understand is embodied in our hearts. Is that correct?
Yes, so while you are still in the human body and operating in this dimension, you will always have a connection to that moment. And that blueprint is like a holographic reading that will be before you, in which you will can see the blueprint of how all of that is connected and the destiny and the potentiality and the unfoldment of your experience. But it can eventually, and it feels that in linear time it can come very quickly. It will be something that you will navigate through and be able to feel as it will be literally projected and like a stream of light of stars in front of you if you are wanting a holographic formation that you can see and perceive and recognize as the blueprint of your experience in any given lifetime, dependent upon that date or time of birth.
Right, because the planets and the stars are actually just different forms of consciousness.
Yes, of course. And as you are collectively, of course, evolving, they are evolving, and all the planets are evolving, and all the parallel realities are evolving, and all the beings of light and the star beings are evolving. The goddesses themselves are evolving. The Syrian beings are evolving. The water is evolving. The fire is evolving. The trees are evolving. And so, as all of you are evolving, you begin to radiate and send off more higher codes of octaves of information in which you start to have access to living libraries of so much wisdom, so much light, so much beauty, if only you choose to attune to it. And it's already here and flooding in. And so when you put your hand on the tree, you will download and feel all of the living history of the tree and all of the information it will be communicating to you. When you bow down to the soil and place your hand upon it, you will start to pick up the imprint of the libraries of that, or of the crystals and the water and all of its information. And it is no different of the stars. However, you cannot touch the stars. You'll begin to attune to them in a new way, in which, like a stream of river of information aligned with you and the imprint of your individuality and the unfoldment of your human experience in alignment with the stars, will show itself to you, and you'll be able to hear it and communicate and talk to them and ask them where they have moved, what they are doing, how it is affecting you, how it is changing your nervous system or your blood, or how it is affecting the plasmic light, or where it is that you should be placing your attention, because you will have a new way of communicating. Everything will be more pulsating with more life, more light, more access than it has. In a sense, you've been operating in more of a deadened frequency that is now revving up at this accelerated pace. And for some, it creates a feeling of overwhelm. But if one can disconnect from technology, especially, and spend time with the elements and with nature, they will have a much easier process in this shift.
Right, and that really leads me to the next question, Angel Raphael, is what advice would you give us with these incredibly rapid changes? What is the best thing we can do? Is it dropping into stillness? Is it dropping into the breath, which is so simple and accessible for all of us?
Yes, it is to do nothing. to have periods of time where there is no thinking, where there is no nothing. There is just presence. Perhaps you are swimming in a river or the ocean and you're just being. Wherever you can just be, if you're walking through the forest, or even if you find yourself in a city and you cannot get into nature, just sit at the park and just be. And as people are walking by, try to refrain from judgment or thought, just to be a loving witness to whatever is occurring within your environment, and coming into heart coherence with it as a recognition, as you are merging with it as part of self. And in doing that, especially for those who are able at this time to attune to nature, you will start to feel a resonance that you haven't felt before, an aliveness, a frequency that is permeating, and a wave that is moving through your planet rapidly. And this will start to attune you to this very high organic ascension timeline that you are all seeking to attune to. And so it might seem extremely simple, but it is very profound. The stillness, like you are saying, the breath, nature, water, and to let go of worry of what will happen, what is going to be next, what is the prediction of the future, and all of this, and just move into a state of joyfulness and presence and deep gratitude, and focus on whatever it is in this now moment that you can find joy in.
This has been the most extraordinary conversation, Angel Raphael. Do you have any final message to leave us with after these gifts you've given us, these rapid fire gifts in the last hour? Is there anything else you'd like to share before we close?
Simply that there is enormous love for all of you, and that you are not alone. And that for many at times they feel isolated or alone, or they are looking at their computer or newspaper and they see horrific things. And we understand that there are pockets of great sorrow or starvation or pain. And we feel that empathy and heart for those pockets that are moving through great shifts of transformation and transmutation. But for a large portion of your globe, the awakening process and stepping into higher octaves of unity and love are taking place. And we encourage you to attune and pay attention, to focus on your vision and to hold that for an earth where you come back into balance and to harmony with the elements, with each other, with your food, with nature, to gather collectively in community, to collaborate and to communicate, to open up your hearts to beings that perhaps cannot be perceived through the naked eye, in parallel realms and realities and dimensions, who are here in droves, loving and supporting you through this ascension process. And as you move through these gateways and attune with these energies, know that you are rapidly accelerating, and that the codes in which we share with you are moving into your biology and awakening you to align to higher octaves of light, whether that be in the galactic core or deep within the inner earth. All of these codes that are coming in from all directions and all dimensions, we ask you to open your heart to them, to receive them, and to know that you are loved, that you have always been loved, that you came from love, and that you shall return to love, and to drop the fear and the worry, and remember that you are eternal and ever evolving being of light. And so, with that, we send to you from our realm in the angelic realm, and I, as Archangel Raphael, invite you to call upon me at any time in which you need healing within your physical, emotional, or mental body, and know that we are accessible to you and that you are not alone. And so, for that, we send many blessings, much love, and good day.
Thank you so much.
Oh.
Kelly, that was extraordinary.
Oh
Do
gosh.
you hear that? Do you hear that as you go through? Because you're so fast. Are you aware of it?
I have a sense, but no, I can't possibly keep up with it.
You need to listen to this again.
Yeah, my mind can't keep up with all that.
No,
No.
mine was, over the jumps, but that was an extraordinary sharing, an extraordinary channeling, and very, very high level, and massively inspiring for everyone. And
Mm.
for me, that is the way we get beyond the war, the poverty, the misery, the disease. That's how we do it. To focus on higher consciousness and focus on stillness, focus on breath, focus on hugging a tree, because that's the shortcut to raising our consciousness so these awful, awful horrors stop happening.
Exactly. And when we're doing it, I think the mind can come in and say, I should be doing something. Well, what am I? But it is that, like I was just recently up in Maine for the summer and I was in the water and the rocks were literally talking to me and the water was talking to me and the ferns and the trees. And it was so magical and I just felt at such peace. And then I thought, well, in this moment, I'm disconnected from my community and helping people. But it's that moments that we need to take for ourselves, and it is that helps us amplify our vibration so that when we come back from that, we can be of service. And those moments that we think, oh, we don't have time to go outside or take that walk or be in the water, they are really, really potent and important. And I think our thinking mind says, oh, I'm too busy or I don't have time for that. And it's so important for people to make that a priority.
Yeah, I really, really hear that whole issue of self-care, because as you say, we can shift level in those moments of self-care and stillness that helps us to share a higher frequency message, a higher consciousness message. And it's so important because there's a recovering workaholic. I'm trying to do that myself because I now know the value of that, and not just working like a beaver staring through a screen, but actually stepping back, to be even more in nature than I have been, although I'm a great lover of nature, because those are the precious moments that amplify, as you say, what we're here to share in the world and share our light. And I just can't thank you enough. That truly was a thrilling conversation.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here and thanks for having me. And I hope that it's supportive and that it helps people. And yeah,
It
so
was wonderful. I
fantastic.
just, thank you, Angel Raphael, and thank you, Kelly, for the incredible work you are doing in the world. Your work is, everyone should listen to you because it is so pure, so loving, and so inspiring for where we are already in process. It's not that we're thinking a decade, 2 decades down the road. We are in the mush of the chrysalis. We are in process. We are in embryo right now.
We're in gestation, right? And Raphael talks about that we're going through this process that for many of us, we will give birth to a whole new being as a galactic being of light at the end of the year. And so we went through connecting in the galactic core, and now I think it's August 18th. I'm going to take everyone into the inner earth if they want to join us on that journey and receive an upgrade in our biology. So it's
Yeah,
big
and
stuff.
people can also go back to the previous light codes that you've already taught on the website, can't they? And access
Yes.
all of the sharing that you've done on those because it's magnificent.
Yeah, absolutely.
So much love, Kelly, and so much love to everyone. I hope you've just loved this as much as I have, and I hope Kelly has too. God bless you, Kelly. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Pam, for everything you do and all the love you share in this world. You are really a beacon of light. So
You too,
much
Kelly.
love to you. Okay.
Back at you.
All
Bye for
right.
now.